everyone, and welcome to Inside Quest. We're the NFL training camp for your brain. Our goal is to bring on amazing people who can help you man up your mind with mental drills. And if you're looking to take your intellect to the all-pro level, there's no better guest than the man joining us today. This self-proclaimed runt of the litter proved that hard work trumps talent every time. In the grand tradition of the unlikely hero, he went from getting cut from his Little League team to being a top pick in the NFL draft through sheer force of will. 7 knee surgeries later, however, when a career-ending injury killed his dream of winning a Super Bowl, instead of giving up and giving in to the heartbreak, he channeled the intensity and aggression that made him great at football into his next endeavor, performing, transforming himself from football superstar to acclaimed playwright and Broadway actor. His largely autobiographical one-man play was launched to rave reviews, and he has been performing it now for over 15 years. Hailed by the New York Times as one of the most powerful plays of the decade, he showed that with enough focus and discipline, even a kid from nowhere, USA, can carve a path of awe-inspiring success through even the most unforgiving terrain. His play was so successful, in fact, that he did a 50-city tour and is now being adapted into a major motion picture. Not one to sit on his laurels, however, he used both his literary acclaim and achievements in the NFL as a launching pad for a third career, consulting for clients like Morgan Stanley, Protective Life Insurance, Dimensional Fund Advisors, and Young Presidents Association. His powerful story and insights have been featured on Fox, ESPN, NBC, ABC, CBS, The New York Times, USA Today, Variety, Sports Illustrated, and Newsday, just to name a few. A speaker, corporate trainer, stage performer, author, and former professional football player, his resume reads like a man who has lived multiple lives and achieved greatness in them all. He is an inspiration and a reminder that you can clothe yourself in excuses or accomplishments. The choice is yours. Please help me in welcoming the man who has been called the greatest speaker to grace the stage in decades, Bo Eason. Wow. Bo, thank you so much, man, for being on the show.
That was some introduction.
Man, it is all true. That's the best part. People always ask who writes these introductions, and the truth is the guests do, right? I just go through and sort of put them in an order, but it is amazing.
When you hear it, you're like, wow, I did that. Okay, cool.
You did do all that. It really is. We were talking about this off camera, but it really is phenomenal. I think most people, and you said people will come up to you and say, oh man, I really wish my parents had pushed me when I was younger so that I could have, performed at a professional level when I was still young. But you've reinvented yourself over and over and continued to put in 20-year plans in place, even when you were in your 30s, 40s, 50s. What's the secret to that?
I just think that most people think they can only do one thing. And as an NFL player, most of us NFL players, once we're done, we usually get ourselves in trouble somehow, one way or another.
Right.
Because, once you play at that level, everyone tells you, look, that's it. That's your career. You shouldn't probably do anything else, And so I always thought, well, what if we took the same principles that made me the best in the world in this field and then channel it over here and put it in this field? Can I be the best in the world at this too? But our culture is against that a little bit. They just seem to push back against, well, if you're great at one thing, that's enough for you. 2 things, no. 3 things, no, absolutely impossible. But what I have found is that those principles that made me, great at playing safety in the NFL have made me a great stage performer and made me a writer and a father and a parent and a husband.
So what are the things that made you great?
It's always the vision of the plan. So when I was 9 years old, I drew up this 20-year plan. And I still have it today. It's 45 years old now.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's, I remember stealing this paper from school and I got some crayons and I just drew up this plan. And the plan was to be the best safety in the world. And I drew this little safety and I drew his shoes and him catching a ball and I just drew myself. And then I followed this path for about 20 years. And throughout those years, it looked like it was never going to happen. Right. I mean, all the way up until it did happen, people go, it's just impossible for a kid who doesn't know any pro athletes, never been around one, to actually become one. But every time I've made a plan and followed it, other people come with me. So
Yeah, tell people the stats on that, because the high school that you went to had never before produced somebody that went to the NFL and has never since produced somebody that's gone on to the NFL. But right when you were there, something really weird statistically happened.
Yeah.
Walk people through that, because it really hit me.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't really realize it was happening until I read a book called Daniel Coyle's book, The Little Book of Talent. It's just a little red book, but he just went around to these hotbeds of talent, and he's wondering, what do they all have in common? Why can this little group of people are the virtuosos playing the violin?
Right.
And why is this little group of people the greatest women tennis players in the world? How can this be, these little tiny little hotbeds? I read that book and I go, oh my gosh, I've been a part of one of those pretty much everywhere I've gone in my life. But the funny part about it is, there's never been a pro athlete from my high school before I got there, and never has there been one since I left.
Right.
But out of 27 farm boys on that one team, when me and my brother played together, 4 guys went to the NFL for a total of 25 years, 2 Super Bowls. Never before, never since.
And what's the stat on the number of high school players that go on to the pros?
Yeah, there's 1.2 million high school football players per year that play high school football.
Right.
0.08% of them play in the NFL. So 0.08. So now you take those 27 farm boys, and then you look at that statistic and you go, that's a statistical impossibility. It can't happen. And everyone always goes, that's impossible. It can't happen. And they run away from the odds of you making it. And I always say, no, I run to those odds. I love those odds. You know why? I do. I just love those odds. Because I know no one else will do it. I know everyone else will quit. And the funny part about it is, Tom, those 4 guys, out of the 27, there were 5 other guys better than us. So us 4 went on to the NFL, but there were 5 guys better than us.
Right.
At some point, they just stopped. Yes. Whether it was an injury or it got too hard, they just stopped. So they quit. And so today, I have a son who's 9 now, but we started working on his 20-year plan. And when he was about 7.5, 8, one day he just came to me. He wants to be the first player to play in the NFL and the NBA. And check it out. I think he's going to do it. I've taught him from the day he was born, like, look, you got to outwork everybody in the world then. Then you got to outwork every other 7-year-old that's on the planet right now.
Right.
And that's up to you, son. That's up to you and me. If we want to do that, we can do it. So he came to me, maybe a year and a half ago, and he was kind of teared up, and he said, Dad, what if I don't make it? What if my dreams don't come true? And I said, oh, I forgot to talk to you about this part.
I'm literally hanging on every word here.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah. I go, that's an impossibility of it not working out. Your only way out of your dream, there's one way out of it, and you're going to have to quit. That's the only way out of this. Otherwise, it's going to happen. And that's how I've always kind of operated in my life. And I thought everybody operated in their life that way, because I noticed that the people around me were operating that way, including those 4 guys from Delta High School.
Right.
So I went to the 30-year reunion a few years ago, and I went to these guys and I said, why did you play pro football? We didn't know any pro football players. No one ever played pro football from our school. Why did you do it? And they said, because you were carrying around that damn plan all the time, and you were telling everybody, I'm going to be the best safety in the world.
Right.
And they said, hey, if that little dude Bo's going to do it, I'm doing it too. And it's just that one dude, one little guy, who was the smallest and not that good, just had a dream. That's it. And said, I'm going to go do this dream, guys. And while everybody laughed, those 4 guys, those other 3 guys go, oh, well, I'll just go then. If he's going, I'm going.
I want to talk about being unreasonable, because the story you just told I was sincerely hanging on your every word as you were. I was waiting to see what you told your son because I wanted to know if I could use it in my own life.
Yeah.
You're unreasonable, right? Like, that is a completely unreasonable thing to say to a child. It's completely unreasonable to say to a child, the ball doesn't touch the ground in our household, right? Which is a fantastic story that I hope you will give us a teaser of.
Yeah.
How has that served you in your life? Because when you say that you know other people won't do it, I agree with you so powerfully, and everything that I've accomplished in my life has been because of that, right? I know other people will fall away, but I will just keep going. I'm not the smartest, certainly not the most well-educated, but I just don't stop.
Yeah.
So how can you be so unreasonable, Bo? How does it work for you?
I never thought of myself as a smart guy, but I knew I was going to show up. I mean, that's one thing there's so much in this world that we can't control, but the one thing that I figured out as a young kid what I could control, and that was I was going to be out there.
Your work ethic.
Yeah, I was going to be out there. I was going to show up.
Right.
Regardless of sickness or injury or excuses or homework or what all these distractions we can come up with, right? But I just knew I could count on myself to show up. And that's one of the major things that I teach my kids. I go, look, you show up before everyone else gets there. You look around once you get there, whether it's dance, recital, practice, rehearsal, whatever it is, you're the first one there. You look around and you say, okay, here's some people in here with me. I'm gonna outwork them all today, only for this next hour, maybe for the next minute, I'm gonna outwork them. And there was a time in my life when I got outworked. I saw it, I saw it happen, and it was by a guy named Jerry Rice. This is 1988, 89, so Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, Randy Cross, great players. So I'd been in the league for 4 years. And I'm getting dressed, and it's an hour and a half early before anyone's to be out there, so no one's in the locker room. And then I walk out onto the practice field. It's about 110 out there. I walk out, and I'm like, yep, just like always. And I look right over here, and guess who's standing there? The greatest player ever to play the game standing right there.
Right.
And I remember going through my head, like, how could this be? How could, the world is backwards.
Right.
Why aren't the lesser players out here? Why aren't the guys who should be out here not here, yet the greatest players here? I never seen a guy give more of himself, during this practice. I never seen such a generosity of spirit that this guy played with.
Wow.
Every time he touched the ball, every time. In warm-ups, I don't care when it was, his body went full speed to an end zone. And I don't care where the end zone was. He got his body in an end zone somewhere.
Right.
So at the end of this 3-hour practice, I go, Jerry, man, what's the deal, man? Well, I never seen anything like this. Why you do all that running? And he goes, oh, that's very simple, Bo. I do that because every time these hands touch a ball, this body ends up in an end zone.
I love that.
And I'm like, it just hit me. I swear it hit me, and I wasn't married at that time. But what hit me the most there was how much he was willing to give of himself in the generosity department,
Right.
like the generosity of spirit, like how he was going to express himself physically on that field.
Right.
And I thought of my future marriage when I was around Jerry Rice. And I swear to this day, this guy makes me give more of myself in my parenting, in my stage work, in my speaking, in my coaching, because of what he gave of himself on a field.
Oh, yes.
So whenever I feel myself backing off how much I'm willing to give, whether it's right now, or in talking to my kids, or giving a speech, I always think of Jerry Rice. Because of what I saw him do over and over and over again. I say, I'm gonna give more of myself every single time, and then see where I end up.
That's really, really powerful. So if you guys, if you don't know the totality of his story, do yourself a favor. It is inspiring. It's absolutely incredible. So imagine spending 20 years of your life to do something, to get great at one thing. From the time that you're 9, like think about the obsession that takes, right? Like when you think about the things in your own life that compel you, I promise you it's a mixture of joy and beauty and darkness and anger, right? There is that combination, and that combination exists within us, and you will hear it in this man's story. It's absolutely incredible. So driven in his play, which you didn't see as being dark, and I have not seen it, Bo, and I really want to.
Yeah.
But from what I hear, like there's a real sense of that darkness, that thing that can drive you and compel you to do something, a chip on your shoulder, and the power that lies within that. But imagine all of that, the culmination of the beauty, the power, the aggression, the anger, all coming together, and in your 5th year, boom, career-ending knee injury, you're done. And you've just spent the last 20 years of your life chasing one thing, the thing that you obsessed over so much, that thinking of yourself as the runt of the litter, having an older brother that, takes his team to a Super Bowl. No one expects you to do anything like that. And then it's gone. It's gone. What do? At that point, I think everybody else stops. Everybody else gives up. Everybody else taps out. But you didn't. And it is utterly fascinating to me that all of that can happen, and you can still look back at Jerry Rice and go, okay, maybe these hands don't touch a football in a professional context anymore, but I'm still always going to run to the end zone. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I found so interesting is, dude, if you said, hey, give me the bookends of male accomplishment, on one end it would be professional athletics, and on the other it would be being a playwright and Broadway performer, right? Like that is the spectrum. Yeah, right. And you went from this extreme to this extreme.
Yeah.
What in that moment of darkness, when you realize I'm never playing again, and I'm still in my prime, what did you do mentally to prepare yourself to take that lesson from Jerry Rice and apply it to something else?
Yeah, just so everybody knows, that was the scariest time in my life. Because, you train to be the best in the world at one thing. And that one thing is running 25 miles per hour and throwing your head into other bodies, and that doesn't translate too well to the civilian world. So
you could try it, I suppose.
Right, yeah. So I remember being wheeled off the field. We were actually in Miami. We were playing the Dolphins down there, and it was my 7th. I got hung up in a pile, and as I was going down with about 6, 7 guys on top of me, as I was going down to the earth, it felt like it was slow motion, and the sound is like tree limbs breaking, like pop, pop, pop. And as I landed on the ground, there was about 6, 7 guys on top of me. And when that happens in an NFL pile, when you hear that sound, every guy in that pile is going like this. Oh shit, who was that? Who was that? And they're reaching for their limbs to check their own limbs. And I was at the bottom, right? But I didn't feel anything. So I was like, I think I'm good. But then I could only move my head. I was laying on my back like this. I could only move my head with these guys on top of me. And I just turned my head just slightly to the left right here, and my shoe was right here. Yeah. And I go, fellas, I think that one's me. And they all go, oh, good. That it wasn't them. Ooh. Yeah, and that was, I broke my ankle and my foot and blew my knee, and that was the 7th knee surgery. Ooh. So as I was being wheeled off of that field in Miami, I'll never forget this. When you know it's over, man, it's like the end of your life.
Yeah, sure.
And I just remember looking up into the crowd as I'm being wheeled off, and I was thinking about the last 20 years, how I mastered this thing called safety, and how I became the best in the world at that one thing, and how I can't do it anymore. The one thing I've trained my whole life for, I can't do anymore. And I was thinking of my next career. This is on a
on You're being wheeled off,
right?
Yeah.
But your whole life just passes before your very eyes, and I just remember, oh, I know what's next for me, and it was prison. The visual I had was of myself like in an orange jumpsuit. And I go, because what I'm best at in this world is hurting people. And I'm going to hurt somebody. There's no place for me to do this. How am I going to, I'm going to end up in jail. Because what I'm best at ain't legal out there.
Right.
And the very next moment, I said, you know what? All I've got to do is find a platform. You know, no different than this, no different than this very stage and these chairs. This is a platform. I've got to find a platform to express myself. Because if I'm the best at it now, at doing this safety thing, like physically expressing myself, can't I do it somewhere else? And given 20 years, can't I then be able to be safe and not go to prison if I can do it? Right. And that was my choice. So my choice was prison, or the other choice was I'm moving to New York City. And I go, okay, New York City.
Sounds a lot better, yeah.
Right? And I did. And I went there and I trained and I took theater classes and writing classes and stage work. And all I wanted to do then was be the best stage performer of my time. You know, of my time. And so I went to all my classmates in class and I said, hey everybody, who's the best stage performer of our time? Who is that guy? Who's that gal? And they all said, this was 1990, they all said Al Pacino. I said, cool, where's he? And they go, well, he's Al Pacino, I don't know, he's probably on a movie set somewhere. I go, well, cool, but if I'm gonna take that mantle, then I'm gonna have to talk to him about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, right, because he's the one who can tell me.
Right.
Yeah, this is another thing. I've always sought the people who are the best at what they do. When I wanted to be the best stage performer, I said, who's the best at that? They said, Al Pacino. I said, cool, I got to talk to him. And I did. I went to his house, to Al Pacino's house.
And literally just knocked on the door?
No,
okay,
no.
I was like,
no. I skipped that part of the story, but I went to, you know, all my classmates were like 18 years old. I was like 27. I already had a career,
right.
You know? So I called my agent from football, who knew his agent from entertainment world,
right.
And arranged a meeting on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was in New York, and it was snow all over the ground. And I'll never forget it because I got out of the car, and there was snow, and I was walking up to the house, and Al Pacino comes walking out of the house. And he comes out, and he goes, hey, Bo, Al Pacino. I'm like, no shit, man. You're the Godfather, dude. And he goes, come on in, I know why you're here. And we went in, we played pool in his house, and he broke down for 3 hours my next 15 years.
Wow.
I said, look, I want what you got, man. Tell me how to do it. And he goes, okay, I'll tell you, but that's 15 years. And I go, cool, I work good in those kind of timelines, right. You know?
Yeah.
And he did. And who to work with, what to do. Basically, what he broke down for me, if it came down to one sentence, was I had to have my butt on a stage more than any other human being for the next 15 years.
Right.
So I did. Because that was up to me, right? That's the one thing I could control. No different than being the best safety. That's one thing I can control. Given the time,
right.
Given a nice timeline like 15, 20 years, I could show up more than everyone else, right? That's up to me. It's not up to anybody else. And so I did. And then 15 years later, I was, backstage, just no different than this, but I was behind the curtain of a Broadway house in New York City, and I was about to take the stage, and I was about to die. I thought I was gonna wet my pants. I'd played 5 years in the pros, but this was more nerve-wracking because it was a play that I wrote. Mm-hmm. It was a play that I was the only person in.
Right.
And I was to hold a New York audience for 90 minutes, and the New York Times and the critics are all right there waiting to slay this ex-NFL player who thinks he can come into town and write a play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's daunting.
Even though I didn't want to, something makes my foot hit the stage. Something made me go forward. And I remember the same feeling in NFL tunnels. Like I'd be in the tunnel, waiting to go out, be introduced. And I remember wondering, what if I just ran for the back door and got in my car out in the parking lot, right, and I drove back to California? That would be the hugest relief if I could just do that. And I would actually consider the thought as I'm about to go play. Well, I would do the same thing on Broadway. I would do the same exact thing. I'd be backstage going, what if I just ran for the stage door, got in a cab, and went back to my little apartment? There would be no show. And I always flirted with that thought of doing it, but something always made me go forward. So I went out on this stage.
But is that something passive, or is it something that you've trained yourself to do? Like, if that voice speaks up now, surely you have a routine, a ritual, if you will, to beat it down. True or false?
For sure. And that is, I didn't know this term as a kid, but it's the show must go on. The same thing in sports.
And you just say that in your head.
Yeah, but I don't really even say that term, but that's the feeling that I get. It's on regardless.
But I want to know what you cultivate, because you have accomplished at a freakishly high level across very wide disciplines, and you're incredibly humble in the retelling, but as a man who has made it very clear that we all have one unique story, we are a one-time phenomenon, I want to know what's going on in your head at that moment, because I think that's incredibly powerful. And my promise to these guys and the people watching is that this show will deliver the actual techniques that they're going to need to do that. So you're backstage.
Yep.
You're about to walk on. I know that impulse to run and go in the opposite direction and be invisible, right? Which there's so much intoxication to the idea of a completely invisible life where nobody sees you, nobody judges you. And I think it's Aristotle that had the quote, oh God, if it's not Aristotle, Socrates, something like that. Yeah. But they said, if you want to live a life where you don't offend anybody, never get hurt or never upset, then do nothing.
Yep.
So the choice between doing nothing and having to face all that, you and I both make the choice to face it, but I want to know in your head exactly what happens at that moment.
Okay, God, I've never been asked this question. It's really, and as you were asking it, I was like going, just running through my whole life, which, I always know when I'm about to do something that I'm supposed to do. You know why?
Why?
I'm surrounded by cinder blocks, usually. Cinder block walls, hallways. Every stadium is lined with them. Every tunnel is lined with them. Every backstage of every theater I've ever been in is lined with cinder blocks.
Right.
And I'm always standing among these cinder blocks, and I'm usually alone. And it's your turn.
Right.
It's
a striking image.
Right? It's that isolation and loneliness where only you have to decide whether you're going or not. But I'll tell you, when you were coming up with the question, I was thinking I think of the audience, and I think of my teammates. And I think if I don't go out, we could lose. We'll probably lose. So it becomes bigger than me. Weird, right? Like I'm the performer, but then I think of the other people who I'm going to let down if I don't take that step forward.
You actually have a quote about this, which I have. It's funny. I did not know you were going to answer with that. And you said, that's what football taught me the most. You're going to have to come through for your team at the toughest moment. And it's like, of all the amazing things you've said, that's one of the 5 things that just really jumped out at me. And until this moment, I've never thought about that. Camaraderie is my highest value in business. That's something very meaningful to me, being a part of a team, not letting someone down. It's fascinating to me that that's a leverage point for you.
Yeah, that huge. And if you talk to, especially NFL players, later in their life, like I'm 54, and you go, hey, do you ever miss the game? And all of us always say, no, I don't really miss the game. I miss the guys.
Right.
Because how are you ever going to match that kind of relationship with a man again?
That's a lot of what I get out of business. My partners and I, when we did our last company, it was about money. And that was like, we literally all had a pact with each other that whatever you had to do, whatever you had to suffer, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, if I may, it didn't matter. If it was more profitable, we did it. And that was the agreement. And it was when I realized that was an emotionally bankrupt choice for me, right? For other people, maybe that's amazing. But for me, it didn't elicit that passion, sense of connection, the team, the camaraderie element. So when we launched this company, it was specifically, I remember our first mission statement was employees first, because they're the ones on our team.
Yeah,
right?
got it.
So this is the team. These are the people that we have to serve first.
Yeah.
Now, the way that we protect them is by taking good care of the customer, because that's how we have the financial viability to build this empire. But at the end of the day, it's employees first. And if we're not taking care of them, if we don't feel connected as a team, we're not going to be able to do this impossible thing of, the grand goal that we've set for ourselves.
Right.
But it's amazing to me that in a sport as aggressive and predatory, using your words, which really resonated with me, a very predatory endeavor that draws a lot of people that have a predatory mentality. If you know him, predatory for him is not a negative word. It's not dark or sinister. There's a beauty to the nature of a predator, which really resonated with me. But that such a predatory, aggressive sport would bring that out in people and would give people this ability to really connect with that, to be able to talk about it openly, because it really does go beyond the game. And this, I'm drawing things here together that don't necessarily belong together, but it was another thing that spoke to me. And you said, if you're watching the ball, you're being lied to, right? So anytime, if you're watching a sport, the commentators are talking about the ball, the spectators at home are watching the ball, but everybody on that field, they're not paying attention to the ball because the ball is a lie. And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. And if you could just explain to them what you mean by that, like, why is the ball a lie?
Yeah, the difference between pros and amateurs is pros, pro football, any sport, but basketball is the same way too. The ball is there to trick you. So amateurs, including commentators, the TV, Sports Center, everyone's watching the ball. Don't watch the ball. Watch away from the ball. You'll see where the ball is going to end up.
God, let's see if we can take that a little bit further. There's sometimes where truths come up in life that are so profound, and I haven't yet codified it in a way that I can explain it to others. But this is really, really powerful. So the best analogy I can give to what business is, and the reason that business has become so important and empowering in my life, is it felt like somebody lifted up a curtain and let me walk behind to the real world. And that's why the Matrix analogy resonated with me so much, was that's how it felt before I got into business, when I was just an employee, and then when I became a business owner and realized the game that was really being played. Right? Of marketing and what marketing is from a storytelling perspective, what it means to watch your margins and why that's important. And I mean, there's 1,000 things that are happening in the business world that control every aspect of your lives, from politics to the fact that you show up here every day trying to earn a paycheck. And it really is the people that understand the game the most that can play it at the highest level. But everybody in business elsewhere, they're fooled by the ball. They're looking at the wrong thing. They're not looking at the realities of the drivers of human behavior that create this artifice, right, that we're all actually dealing in. And as an employee, that's where I was stuck. I was stuck in the artifice. So I showed up when somebody else told me to show up. I did what somebody else told me to do, and didn't recognize that was lulling me into this sense of just waiting for my instructions, right? But that, to me, like, have you guys ever ridden with somebody and you go to the same destination over and over and over, but you're in the passenger seat, right? And then when you go to drive, even though you've been there 10 times, you can't drive? You don't know how to get there because the other person was driving.
Right.
Or you've had your GPS and it's just telling you where to go, and so you've never had to think for yourself. That literally is the nature of having what I call the slave mentality, where you keep your head down, you do as little work as possible and avoid punishment at all costs, right? You're lulling yourself into this rhythm of just doing what you're told. You're waiting for instruction, and you're not forming a map of how the way the world really works. So when I look at your life, and one of the things that I was so desperate to get you on the show is because, dude, at 9 years old, everyone else, the glorification, which we haven't even talked about, but the glorification of your brother, right? Of people saying, he's gifted, he's talented, he can sleep, he doesn't have to work as hard, or you got cut from your little league team, but still showed up to practice. Like, that shit is so crazy to me and so powerful because it's somebody who's hell-bent to not fall asleep at the wheel. Somebody who's not going to let other people construct a worldview for them. Like, you've just had this through line of what the world is, and you're going to react to the way that it is. And in understanding how it actually is, you've been able to get into the NFL. You've been able to become a lauded playwright, a lauded actor. You've become a much sought after speaker. But it is that one narrative of the world is going to bend to my will and not the other way around.
Right. You know, I was taught this by a mentor of mine, but if you're to lead, you're going to have to go counter to the culture. So the culture, if you watch it and you can feel it, even driving here today, you can feel the culture and you can feel where it wants to go and where it's headed. You must go counter to it. You must recognize where it's going and then go the opposite direction. And if you do that, that's your only chance to lead. That's really somebody who's blazing a trail, I guess. Just like Jerry Rice, there's no accidents. He's the greatest football player of all time. And that's the story. That's what I want my kids to see. I want them to see what it takes, because it's not, there's nothing magical to being the best in the world at your specific position. There's no magic to it. You just have to know what it is you're going for, and then you start running the miles toward that dream. And the minute you start running the miles toward the dream, guess what? That dream's running 100 miles an hour at you. And now you got these two forces coming together like this, and one day they will meet. And that might be 15 or 20 years, and that's where everyone wants to quit too. They're like, well, that's too long, Bo. I'm like, well, okay, then forget it.
Yeah.
Because why start if you're giving it a couple of years to see how it goes? You don't see how it goes. It's going to go bad, right? It's going to go bad for like 12 years. There's going to be surgeries. He's going to get cut. There's going to be pain. He's going to be lousy. So you might as well quit now and avoid all that. But on the other end of that, he can end up being the best safety in the world.
Several years of hard work.
Yep.
Awesome.
Wow, I didn't know we'd be talking about this. That's cool.
That was amazing, man. I really can't thank you enough for coming on here. This is incredible. Where can they find you?
I was just going to say something. And everybody, you're going to re-enter society after leaving here, the studio, and going back to the world, right?
Sure.
And that's the hardest re-entry. It's really hard because, this conversation, I didn't know it was going here today, obviously. There aren't that many places that you can have conversations like this, which is so cool, man, that you're doing this, because there's just not a lot of places in the world that you can actually have this conversation about being the best in the world at something. And so when you provide a place where it's safe to have the conversation, I think that's what you and I and everyone watching has got to start creating their own little hotbed of talent, their own little gold mine of people where they can actually support each other's dreams and actually make those dreams come true for each other, which is, I think, is our birthright. I think that's what we're about. But the rest of the world is kind of, no, that's a dream. That means nothing. You're a dreamer,
Yeah, I love what you said about dreams are sacred to me because they're not some fanciful thought. They're real. I lived my dream, and not just once, but in multiple places. So this for me is something that I protect. You were talking about your son, and I just thought, wow, that it's so true. And your willingness to take dreams really seriously.
Yeah.
Your willingness to talk about dreams don't happen by accident. They come with dedicated effort and discipline over a very long period of time. And it's not about not dropping the ball, but it's about having the commitment to say, that's what I'm aiming at. To have an aim, right?
Right.
Where most people don't. They don't have an aim. And because there's nothing grand to strive for, they strive for nothing.
Yeah.
Or worse, they strive for mediocrity.
Yep.
And that you make the demand to expect more of those you love, right?
Yeah.
Of those you love, that the greatest gift that you could give to your kids is to expect more. The greatest gift that my wife has ever given me is to expect more from me.
Yeah.
Like that's so beautiful. And when you realize that step one is believing, and I hate that these words have become trite because people actually can't hear what you're really saying.
Right.
Because the truth of success in anything, doesn't matter, is you've got to believe it's possible. Why? Because you're going to hurt your knee, right? He hurt his knee in the first time. He hurt 7 surgeries before he finally tapped out. And on the first one, they told him, you'll never play again. So each time he kept saying, no, that's a limitation you're trying to put on me, but I don't accept that limitation. And kept fighting through and makes it to the NFL. I mean, it's just, none of this stuff happens by accident. It's absolutely incredible. And I love that your dad was saying that to you every day,
Yeah.
because it just got planted in your mind, right? Mm-hmm. That being the best at something was tangible. It was, whoa, it's me. Like, holy hell, this guy on the farm, it's me. I'm the best. It makes it real, right? That you can, and obviously you did just a freakish amount of work to become that. And I love that in your work and the things that you teach. It's all about the actual concrete steps, the work that you have to put in. The plan, right? The 20-year goal.
Yeah.
And you've honored people by sharing your sons and showing what that vision looks like, and the drawings and how real it is. And oh God, we haven't talked about the heart transplant. I can't believe we almost left without that. Please tell us about the heart transplant.
My son, we've been doing it for his 20-year plan. Obviously, I've told you guys he's playing the NBA and the NFL. So he's got this whole plan on his wall, right? And on his wall are the people that he admires the most. And we do this heart transplant every night before he goes to bed, and we kiss our fists like we just did, and we tap it. And we tap each heart of these people that we look up to on the wall. We take the heart of Kobe Bryant, we take the heart of me, his dad, we take the heart of his uncle, and we take it from them and we put it in our fist like this. I put it in my fist and he lays in his bed like this. And I hit him kind of hard in the chest, and then we hit it and it goes into his heart. So he has the heart of all these champions that he admires, and he goes to sleep with it. So that when he's out there playing and times are getting tough, that he has the heart of all those champions to draw on. It's great though, man. Thanks for providing this kind of platform, because it's just rarefied air, you know?
Truly my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic having you on the show. So you've got a lot of incredible material. Where can they find you?
Yeah, boeason.com. And we have programs, and I train people. I do 3-day events, my wife and I do, down in La Jolla, California. We put about 100 people inside a Broadway-style house.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I've spent much time on boeason.com, so I cannot encourage it enough, especially his blog. You've got to read it. It's absolutely sensational. This guy, you know me, I'm absolutely obsessed with controlling one's own mind, and he has the techniques for how to do it, not just the why, not the flowery stuff, the actual how, from putting up your 20-year plan for how you're going to make your dream come true to the steps you need to take along the way mentally so that you can frame yourself to be prepared to be the best. So my friends, do yourself a favor, dive in deep. And if you're interested in being in our audience, you can go to our website at InsideQuest.com. You can click on Get Tickets to attend one of our live tapings. Also, you may be already listening to this on Stitcher, but if you're not, this is a podcast as well, but you can listen to it 2x. You know my fetish for speeding things up. So guys, I hope that you're diving in. It's a weekly show, so be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. It is absolutely an honor to serve and to bring something that I hope is of use to everybody out there. So until next week, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Thank you again so much. Absolute pleasure.
Welcome.